Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. Let's talk about prayer. It's often a bit the doubt in people's mind, self-inquiry, Advaita. Then how does prayer fit into this? Who is there to pray to whom? After all, these kind of questions come only when we feel that there is a separation. And as long as that feeling of separation is there, this is certainly one valid way to connect with divinity, to pray. But of course, it depends how we are praying. As long as we are praying to God, give me this, give me that, like a beggar, just wanting to improve a bit the external life situation, then it doesn't go very deep. But by way of praying, we can very much open the heart to divinity. Then to whom? Pray to whom? It doesn't really matter as long as we are praying with innocence, with purity, with the right attitude. We can pray as a devotee to God. We can conceive of God as totally formless, abstract. Or we can also, through a form, if it is easier to connect, to focus on the divine, through a form, connect with that formlessness. It doesn't make a difference. If somebody has faith in the Guru, they can also pray to the Guru. Because then you are not praying as a person to another person, but you are praying to the divinity. The Guru, properly understood, is the manifestation of the divine for you. It helps. It helps to connect, like you can conceive of God totally formless, abstract, or take the help of a form. Sometimes Westerners say, yeah, but the Indians, they have so many gods. This is not really God. But somehow the Hindu perfectly deep down knows all their forms, they are just a representation of that one divinity. So if a devotee prays to Shiva, they are aware that behind the form of Shiva there is that incomprehensible magnificence. And we can access it by focusing on a form or directly go to the formless. Or we can access it by having faith in the Guru, because when we pray to the Guru, we pray also to that divinity in the Guru. Now, the Guru is not really essentially different from yourself. The Guru's job is to make more and more aware in the disciple that that divinity is already there. That not I have something that you don't have, but what you are looking for, it's already there. And so actually one can also very well pray to one's own true self, to your own true nature that is never really incarnated, that is prior to time and space, and is simply projecting into this world, into this time-space continuum. But then somehow we have identified with that projection, and there we are longing to be aware of our true nature, of that divine nature. And prayer is certainly a way to connect with that divinity, to open the heart, and we can pray also to our own true self. It's that same divinity that you are accessing, whether you are praying to God or the Guru or the self. If the prayer is sincere, it comes to the same. The prayer should be really for that. Prayer should be a means to open the heart, should be an expression of that longing to become aware of one's own true nature, not the prayer of a beggar. I want a little bit more of this and I want a little bit more of that. That is the real prayer. That if you are longing for truth, if you are longing to experience directly in your own experience, your own divinity, praying for that, that is the real prayer. And whether you are addressing it to God or the Guru or yourself, it doesn't matter, it reaches the same divinity. We are already that, we just have forgotten. And in that forgetfulness, we feel that separation, and that makes us longing to be aware of our true potential, of our true nature. We can concentrate, we can practice, we can inquire, can do all kinds of things, or we can just also pray. Sometimes it helps, even if somebody practices very sincerely, sometimes in between it may just be helpful to pour out the heart and let the emotions come up and flow in the right directions. Then people sometimes say, but these prayers are never answered, and that is our ignorance, because it has an effect. It reaches, and suddenly it's answered, and eventually we become aware, it has always done something. It has always helped to smoothen that connection, that conscious line of this projected personality back to the self. There are not really two selves. The one who can pray to another, but there is that role, that personality, and when that identification is there, it seems to be separate, so it's simply the call of the self that makes the personality long to come back home. That longing is there in everybody. As long as we feel we are limited, we are separate, there's always that longing to somehow be complete. And if we pray with that longing, it reaches the right place. All right. I stopped talking about this. And I'm asking you, my friends, is there anyone here who is ready to come in, who would like to say something? You're welcome.
Hello.
Hello, Leora.
Hi. Okay. This week I had sort of event which was I didn't know at the time, but like a day or two or three after I realized it was rather traumatic. And the evidence was that my body reacted herpes came out, which what happens to me when I in stress, or herpes usually has something to tell me when it comes up. Specifically this time it came on an area of the body which usually doesn't show there, so it was a bit more difficult to notice.
Yeah.
So I'll just like say in a few details that I went to a doctor for a pre-consultation about the operation I need to have on my eye for cataract.
Yeah.
And he gave me a specific he recommended that I do a sort of how do you say, like a checkup, like forgot the word, but that I have to, yeah, like an X-ray, special X-ray,
Yeah.
which is not the normal, the usual X-ray that people do when they have this kind of operation, which I also have to do. And he wouldn't explain me where to do it and who to refer to arrange the paperwork and all that. My family doctor didn't know what it was. The people in the insurance, health insurance, didn't know what it was, so I couldn't go on with it. And he wouldn't give me the details. He just wrote the name of this special X-ray, and he wouldn't give me the details. So I just said, well, then I can't do it with you. He didn't even speak with me. I had to speak with the secretary. Then I just can't do it, because I just can't do something that I don't know what it was and how and where to do it. So what I feel is that it was very difficult for me to admit, to actually see that I couldn't trust this doctor. And I have some experience, and very good experience, medical experience with doctors. I've had some events in my health events in my life, serious, and I trust doctors and I know how to deal with them. And this was like very unusual. So it took my conscious, my way of thinking needed time to realize that it was traumatic, even though I already decided to find somebody else, of course, because I couldn't go on with it. But like my mind, the mind somehow didn't want to, I think so, I'm not sure, didn't want to see, to realize that this actually happened, that this doctor was doing something, playing again. I'm not sure. I don't want to give ideas. I mean, going to ideas. But then the body reacted. Even when I'm telling it now, I'm sort of shaky because the reaction of the body was strong, very strong. Herpes is aggressive. It waits in the body. It sits in the body, the virus, and it attacks when there's an issue. For me, anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's an issue that I somehow not prepared to deal with without the herpes.
Yeah.
So I also didn't want to give it this name, like trauma. I mean, but traumas can be very dramatic and less dramatic, of course, but still it's shaky, very shaky. So I just wonder, what can you say about this kind of experience?
Of course.
I trust my body. I just want to say that I really trust my body. I've learned to listen to my body and I trust it. Yeah.
Of course, if we have certain ideas that we have been holding on to the whole life long, like your faith basically in the medical profession, and then you suddenly have an experience that is shattering your belief, that can be quite a profound experience, that you have to redefine your reality. And if we accept it, that's how it is, then it's still, it may be a bit shaky, but it's easier. But if we somehow just don't, it doesn't matter what, if we have ideas, concepts, belief systems that we're holding on to, and then they are shaken up. But if there is resistance, we don't want to let them go. And then it can become very traumatic and painful. So it's better then to accept, okay, my belief system has maybe been helpful till now in my life, but maybe it's the time that I just don't hold on to it anymore and put your faith more into your own self, and you have faith in your body. You can have faith in your own divinity, in your own divine nature, that it will lead you to the right place at the right time.
So technically, I like, I understand what you're saying. And technically, actually, when I was still there with him, first of all, I should have insisted on understanding right on the spot what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Then I could do my calculations, of course, but I'm just I'm just asking this, like, if I want to be really practical. In such a case, I mean, I've noticed when I was there that he was really fast. He had patience waiting. He has his way of doing things, so he doesn't spend much time explaining.
Yeah.
So it's two things for me, like what you said about the beliefs. Of course, I wouldn't do a test, an X-ray. I wouldn't do it such an X-ray specifically, after I knew what it was, I wouldn't do anyways. But in relation to what you say, but also about trusting, and there's trusting people, there's trusting the medical system. It's complicated nowadays.
Yeah.
But first of all, on a very practical level, it's my duty for myself to insist that the doctor explains. And if it doesn't explain on the spot, then okay, bye, thank you very much. But
Right.
no, I'm not bye. I paid what I had to pay, and okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah. Then I have to be strong because I felt that he was very fast in giving time, in giving the answers. So I felt it. I know I felt it. So it's a lesson.
Right. And then you can accept, okay, here it doesn't work. You find another way. And you have faith in yourself, faith in your real self. And it will guide you how to deal with the situation in a good way, in a constructive way.
Yeah.
We ourselves, in our true nature, are our best doctor. You are complete, you are whole in that. Let that inner healing power come out in your system as good as possible. Then the more you can do that, the less and less you have to go to other doctors.
Well, that's another point to discuss, which I will not. I would like to discuss it with you, but maybe there are other people, but yeah, it's a subject. It's a subject. What you just said.
I mean, with that, not at all that we should not take the help of a doctor if it's appropriate, but we can learn to shift the main trust, not on a profession, but in your own true nature, that actually you are whole, you're complete in yourself. And from that wholeness, from that completeness, if we are opening up to that, sometimes it's amazing how a body can regenerate. But then it may also, that inner guidance may also lead you somewhere to a certain person, then can, in the particular situation, help you with a physical trouble. That also is true. But learn to have more faith in yourself than in the medical profession.
Yes, I know what you're saying. In the medical profession, that's a way to say it, because not always for myself anyway, I still feel I need sometimes medical intervention.
Right.
If I don't see, if my left eye doesn't see, then, and there's something to do about it, then I'd rather do something to
Definitely.
so I can see.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I hear you, and I appreciate your way of putting things like very exact from your point of view, and yet not delete whatever the other person may feel and think. Like you say, it really sharp and yet gentle and deep. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Shall we leave it at this?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hario. Hario.
Ariam.
Hario. Is there anybody else who would like to come in?
Hi, Werner.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's Ravi from Australia.
Hello, Ravi.
So I just wanted to ask, just following on from the point you made before about moving into that space of wholeness and completeness can help improve one's health. I've heard in the past, maybe it was you or someone else, or that space is free of sickness.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that? What, if that's the case, then why is it free of sickness?
Because you, as a divine being, you are complete, you are perfect, you are prior to time and space, and there is no such thing like sickness there. That is a phenomena on the level of the phenomena, sickness, health and sickness. The body is prone to have some kind of defect sometimes, but not you as a being. That is, it's simply the very concept of sickness does not even reach there. You are pure divinity. So only on the level of manifestation, expression in time and space, then there is the duality, there is health and disease, there is good and there is bad, but you are prior to all that.
And how, by connecting to that space that we are, can that have a follow-on effect for the body? Again, I've heard someone say that the cells remember their natural state in that moment. How would you explain it?
Because if the more we are identifying with the me personality, the more we are identifying with a body. And then the more we are identifying with a body, the more that connection to that wholeness is diminished. So then the law of the matter is more taking over. But if we are opening up the heart to that wholeness, to that holiness, then that purity flows into manifestation, and somehow the physical manifestation, the energetic manifestation, the mental manifestation, the intellectual manifestation, they are flooded with that purity, and that has a whole healing effect. I'm not claiming that every time you attempt it, after that you will become capable of healing any disease that is there, but definitely the more we are doing that, the more we are opening up that healing effect, that natural wholeness that is in yourself can flow into the manifestation and has a good effect. And even if we still need a doctor, then his help also will be more effective if we help also from inside with our own healing.
Okay, thank you. And the other question I wanted to ask you, if I notice thoughts, it might be judgment of myself, judgment of others. It could be any thought really that creates stress in my body that isn't helpful.
Yes.
But I'm just using judgment as an example.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a choice. I could just go, oh, I'm judging. And then, and often these thoughts that I notice are a particular pattern, a belief pattern, which is part of my personality that keeps surfacing.
Yes.
I could just go into my breath and move into more connected to my heart, etc., into that space, that presence. Or I could you know, if it's a thought about judging myself, which is a pattern of judging myself historically, then maybe I could affirm the truth that I am I don't know, whatever, a good person, etc. Or if I'm judging someone else, I could use my mind again to go, you know, putting say something to myself to counteract or to bring more, to look at it in a more of a realistic way. Or even someone said to see them as a skeleton and you know, they're just going to decay in time and, you know, everything passes, to make it less personal. But obviously there are lots of ways we could kind of choose to look at a situation in a more healthy way. So I'm wondering, I guess the question is, which are either way of doing it appropriate at different points in time, or is there one way which is just better, just to move into that state of presence?
Of course,
or are they not different? Yeah.
If we are having that mental concept that is negative about ourselves or other persons, then we can do all these mental acrobatic and convince us of the opposite. And when we have bad thoughts, have good thoughts and replace it and neutralize. But it's like doing patchwork. If it helps, I'm not saying it's wrong, but it helps in the moment to relax, but it's then better also to see the movement of the thoughts and then don't fight it and accept, okay, this negative thought is there. And then you can observe what it is doing to your experience right now and learn to relax it physically, energetically. And then actually you are going deeper. You're removing that negative influence in a deeper way than when you just convince yourself of the opposite of what you are thinking. If you think, that's a bad guy, and then you remove it and say, no, he's a good guy, he has done this and this and that, that can be helpful to have the necessary detachment, but then don't stop there. Then go to the root of it. And let the negative current be there. Don't fight it. Don't approve it. Don't try to strengthen it by arguments. Yes, I'm right. The guy is wrong, or whatever. But just see the negativity, but see what it is doing to you right now, instead of dwelling on the mistakes of yourself or somebody else. And then feel it physically, what it is doing. Feel it energetically, what it is doing. And there you will see, automatically we are creating tensions. And there we can relax on that level where it's manifesting. And like that, you release at the root the possibility that it is going to create further trouble.
So then there's no need to, I mean, one, I thought school of thought might be to kind of become familiar with your particular vasanas or your tendencies or the way these beliefs that we hold, which aren't helpful, and then to drop them. And so in order to become aware of them, you know, one could really become, oh, that's this pattern of mine, and this is my judgment pattern, and et cetera, et cetera. But are you saying that essentially that's not necessary? It's more just being aware of there's tension, I'm self-perpetuating tension, and then that's the first, that's the only step that's needed. And then what's the step after that? And then to relax.
Right. I mean, all that categorizing is not necessary, that you go, and this vasana is there, and that vasana, and give it names and put it in a drawer, and then think that you understood. Just be here now, at ease, at peace, as good as you can. and then whatever comes and disturbs that, deal with it, and then you don't even have to somehow categorize it and say, oh, it's this pattern, it's that pattern. Just as the thing rise, you deal with them and let them go, and they disturb less and less.
And you mentioned before, it's being aware of the pattern, being aware that there's tension in your body, and as in, and in a sense, and accepting it, not making it bad or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think he said was the first step, to see it, but not see it as a problem. Recently, in the last day, I've been going, it's okay for me to feel that. I guess that's my first step. I see it and I go, it's okay for me to feel that. And in a sense, actually, that feels quite relieving, because it's not like I feel that I need to move out of that, or that it shouldn't be like that. So that's actually quite relieving. But as soon as I say that, the first step is I see it, as in I feel the tension. And then I go, it's okay for me to be critical or whatever. I'm not even too much analyzing the pattern, but it's almost just saying it's okay to feel, for that to come to be there. And then just by doing that, the energy is kind of dissipated, because I'm actually in a different space now of just of my thoughts aren't, I'm not stuck in, I'm not in, that's past already, the energy associated, which was coming up. And then I could move into my breath. But are you saying it's not, I don't even need to go, is that what you're talking about? Is that the acceptance bit, or am I making it a bit more complicated by even saying to myself, it's okay to be that? Because that feels like natural. Yeah.
However, it is working best for you, that is the best way. Everybody finds a bit their own flavor, their own steps. But what you say is good, that you just see, and then you are not in a conflict that something is there that creates tension. You just see it and stop fighting it, and then you are also not nourishing it, and it will start to dissipate by itself. And you can go in the breath and consciously relax to help it on. But it's perfectly fine that you find your own way, how it functions best. Each one finds a bit their own flavor.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. And it's a relief to know that I don't need to categorize all my personas, and really just see it as tension that I can let go of. Thank you.
Sure. That's cool. Okay, shall we leave it at that? Hari Om.
Yes.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Okay, is there somebody else who would like to come in? You're welcome.
Hello.
Hello, Andreas.
Could you say something about maybe your relationship to your body? Or like, I find it a little bit, in one way, it seems like the body is something that you need to disidentify with. Like the Buddha said, this body is not yours. And on the other hand, it's helpful to focus on it in meditation.
Yeah.
And last time you said that you don't feel so physical anymore, but I'm always feeling, I don't know if I feel very physical, but for example, I'm always there where my body is, like it's the center of my perception for me, or most of the time. So I'm very much identified with it.
Okay. Right, as long as you are manifesting in a human form in this world, there will be the center of your perception where your body is. But the physical experience may change over the time, that it feels less physical and more like sort of a ball of energy.
In your daily life?
In your daily life, yes.
Okay.
walking from point A to point B.
And then you can become aware of the energies that you just talked about, like how certain things feel.
Right. Of course, we can also all the time. You can sit down and put your attention on the subtle perception and become more and more aware of the energies, but eventually, gradually, it may become easier and easier that you are capable of doing so even when you are physically busy somewhere.
Okay.
No.
So would you say, but so that doesn't sound so much like disidentifying with the body.
You know, we have to maybe clear a misunderstanding. By disidentifying with the body doesn't mean to exclude the physical level. The traditional Vedanta approach, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not. It's a technique. It's not really a statement of truth. But of course, as long as the body exists, it's also part of you. It's an aspect, a manifested aspect of you. It cannot be separate from you. So we don't have to disidentify from the body to the point that somehow the physical experience is excluded. It's still included. But you are much more than that. You are not simply the body and your physical experience. You are enormously more than that.
It sounds more that you're using the actual experience of the body to change, or to somehow disidentify with that, which is most of the time maybe a concept in the mind.
Yeah, for me, I came from the rather traditional Advaitic teaching, and for a long time, I was always at war with my body. It was my enemy. I tried to keep it somewhat healthy, that it didn't disturb too much, but somehow it was always, this body, I want to get rid of it. And eventually the whole experience changed and I became aware, hey, I don't have to fight against my body all the time, but rather include the body. And if you want to put it into a category, it becomes more like of a tantric attitude, that instead of pushing everything away, include everything. And then the body suddenly becomes a temple. It's like an expression of yourself. Actually, it's a most powerful temple. But of course, the body is the wall of the temple. And then people have the tendency to put the body in the sanctum sanctorum and worship it. And that is wrong. But we can include the physical experience. That is the real disidentification, that we are not limiting our experience to the physical experience, but as long as the body is there as an expression, it can be included in your whole experience.
And this energies you were talking about, that is what you on another occasion said is like the subtle body.
Energies are grosser and subtler. And so there are physical energies and subtle energies and subtler energies. Also, there are different levels of subtlety. And so of course, the subtle body is certainly pure energy. But in a way, you can even say that of the physical body, that we just perceive it as physical through our physical sense perceptions, but it's just a lower vibrating energy, but still also the physical body is pure energy.
And what about like chronic diseases? Is that something that has something to do with special attitudes in the mind? That, I mean, I'm always having the same physical problems a lot of time, and it keeps on repeating somehow.
It can have different origins. You may have brought it along when you came into this form, that is something that has to be worked out somehow in this life, or it may have somehow happened while growing up, that we somewhere made a knot in the flow of energy without being aware, and keep it bottled up like this, and gradually it develops into a chronic disease, in a chronic problem. It's both possible that it has already been there as part of the stuff that you brought along, or it has been created while growing up in this world. The best is like with all the problems, that you watch the problem, you feel into it, you try to feel into it energetically, not simply physically, and then relax as good as you can, again and again and again, and gradually the manifestation may loosen up also with the physical problems. Sometimes things are very deep rooted and very strong, so we have to go about it again and again, watching it, relaxing, watching, relaxing, that it really can go away. But certainly it's the right direction, and it's helping to ease up whatever there is chronically.
What's the difference between watching it physically and energetically?
I mean, physically, you can also work on it. If it's something that you have to take, and you may take some medicine, or you may get massages, or you may get physical treatments, anything, or energetically, that you just feel it. And in that feeling it, observing it, becoming more and more subtle, aware where the energetic block is that is creating it. And as you keep on feeling it and relaxing, you may come to the point that that block will unravel itself, and maybe then the disease also will disappear.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in?
Yeah, so I have another question in regards to body and
Healing.
dealing with symptoms and suffering, and because I see around different people, different ways of how people, and also something about actually ignoring completely, and even neglecting health situations, such as I know of women who have had breast cancer, and the doctors told them so and so, and they decided to not have chemotherapy. And those who I know are not with us anymore. So that's one example. It's not really neglecting, though. It's a decision that the person took for some reason.
Yeah.
But there is also neglecting. Like a person knows that there is something. I mean, I know it from experience because I'm close with people and people tell me stuff. So it's like the gap between a woman I know that goes to the doctor for any symptoms she has,
Yeah.
or people who have something. I mean, they have symptoms, and they will also complain about the symptoms and definitely suffer from them for years.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't do what they're recommended to do.
Yeah.
So there's so many ways of how people deal. So you give the aspect of like the beliefs and the spiritual attitude and the yeah, but there's a whole, I feel, a whole section, something that, because we are afraid to maybe know what we have, or because we are afraid of taking medication or the doctors or operations. I don't know what the reason is, because I'm not like that. I do what they tell me to do. And, I was cured. There are many reasons. I mean, so you said that the body is the temple. You said many things that brought up many questions for me. But like the other example is like, for instance, my granddaughter, she shows me a leftover of a wound. And she says, you see here, I had a wound. So I said, okay, is it hurting you now? She says, no, but I want the plaster. Okay, I put the plaster. The next day she comes, she tells me that she had the shower, the plaster went off. And then she tells me, can you see the signs of the plaster has left on my foot? So like she creates a whole story about, and we also have the tendency to do that. Many of us, I think I also do sometimes. Tell I had something. Can you see here? I had. So it's a whole subject. I'm just I don't have a specific question here, but
Can I come back to something you said, just to bring it a bit in alive, that we don't get completely lost out there in space?
Yeah.
You said there are people, they are sick, and then they are being told what to do, but they are not ready what they are being told to do, but still they complain all the time about their symptoms, about their situation. Right. And of course, there, if you can give somehow encouragement to do something about it, fine. But if they don't want, then you can also accept that somewhere they like themselves to see themselves in that suffering position, that they can complain and to all the other people. That's a screwed up thing in the mind that many have, that like to be in a situation, in a suffering situation, but then have the right to complain all the time to everybody. This is
that's a hard thing to hear from as a pattern, to realize as a pattern.
Right, and you can usually not tell them that they are doing that, they will throw stones at you.
Yeah, so, I've tried that.
But some people who don't want to do the usual thing, like you said, friends who didn't want to take chemotherapy, maybe they could try to find alternative ways to deal with it. But if they are resigned and say, okay, I don't want to do anything and I'm resigned, then you can also respect their decision. Okay, they decided that this is how it goes, and then they go and may die from the disease. I can respect that, such a decision, that we are not obliged to at all cost all the time repair whatever is there. But
So when I say neglect, it's a kind of judgmental view, I would say maybe, because it's deeper, I guess. It goes deeper.
Little things anybody can neglect for a long time, and then maybe it's better than one has to start to give attention to repair it. But bigger thing we cannot really neglect, because if it's then getting heavy and hurting, then you cannot just keep it outside of your experience and not give attention. But then people can either do something about it and hope to get better, or then they can hook into it and keep it and make it into an excuse to completely slither into self-pity.
From my side, it's just like to respect any decision of a person. But then it means sometimes that I just can't be friends with them if they continue complaining or telling me all the time about what goes wrong, and just not to remain in this judgmental point of view, which I tend to do often. Like,
yeah,
it's not fair. It's not fair for the person.
Somebody really makes that decision, like you mentioned breast cancer, and somebody really makes that decision, okay, I'm not going to take any treatment, then I think those people have also not so much the tendency to complain all the time. But if that decision is sincere, then they accept, and they may take some medication to ease up the pain and then go their way. But but somebody who is always complaining is not really making any real decision, but somehow uses the situation to be in that position, to complain to others all the time, and develop a liking for that, an addiction for that. As soon as somebody lends their ear and is ready to listen, they start to complain.
Yeah, it's a big subject.
It's good to believe in one's own strength and learn to connect with that inner wholeness. And if we can inspire others to do so, great, wonderful. But we cannot force anyone. And then people who are not well go to a doctor or go to an alternative way of getting healed. If they follow the procedure, if they have faith in it, then it may work, but it may not work. But people who don't want to have any help, but still want to be always sick, then it's something they decide, even if they are not quite aware. They choose to be in that situation, and they enjoy an aspect of that decision, of that situation. And then you can wish them well, and you are not obliged to listen to them all the time.
Yeah, thank you, Werner. You have again opened my somehow view about all these things.
Shall we, for the time being, leave it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come? I see we are less people today. Now in Europe, it's getting nice weather, so people like to be outside instead of in front of the computer. But still, if there is somebody here who would like to talk, you're welcome to come in. Since we have been talking about healing a lot, let me say something more about it. If there is something not well in the manifestation, and if we really want to get cured from that, what is needed mainly first is a profound decision of our part that we want to get cured, that we want to get healed. I'm saying this also to people who go to healers. And I believe there are many healers, they are quite capable of helping people with physical defects, with something or other, also with more subtle difficulties. But as long as that intent, that decision is not there from the person who is having a defect, that I want to get cured, I want to get rid of this disturbance, then whatever is being done is patchwork, be it school medicine or be it alternative medicine, be it the healer who is doing all kinds of healing techniques. We can get really healed if that comes from within. It doesn't mean we have to always be scared and look, and is there something that should be healed, something that should be improved? Just be in harmony with yourself. And if there is on the physical level something that keeps on disturbing that experience, there's nothing wrong that we make a profound decision that I want to get cured from it. And then when that decision is there, we can also go to a healer, and then it's much more likely that those healings, that those techniques, whatever they are doing, that they have a healing effect. If that decision doesn't come from the person, then actually the healer can momentarily change a little bit, but it will slip back into the same story. You are whole. In yourself, there is no disease. There's only wholeness. And we can, as a manifestation, open that channel to our own whole nature and let it flow. But then, if there is a difficulty, if we have to go to a doctor, if we have to go to an alternative doctor or to a healer, nothing wrong getting that help, but still that decision to get cured has to be there. Otherwise, we can do as many treatments, as many sessions, as many as we want. It just will go on and on and on. Somehow or other. And even if superficially the symptoms are so suppressed with medicine, then the same thing may pop up in another way. We have the right to be healthy. We don't have to be obsessed with that physical health, but we have the right to be healthy, to let that manifestation be an energetic, a beautiful expression of the inner self. And if that attitude is there properly, then the tendency is that diseases are much easier as they come. They go again. They are much easier to deal with. You are whole in your true nature. And that inner harmony and beauty we can access and let it flow. Still, there may be the weight of karma, that there are certain difficulties we somehow have decided to go through, to live through, to deal with it. And then we can accept, okay, those difficulties are there. I deal with them and getting stronger in course of the process. Simply let's not drift into what Leora has pointed at, the situation that people keep on complaining and complaining. And once we get swept into that current of self-pity, then it's really draining our life force away. Self-pity is a bottomless well. But somehow people may start to get a psychological liking of that situation that gives them somehow the right to, whenever they meet people, to complain. It's a weird momentary kick that one can get out of it, but actually it's draining the energy away. Be with yourself, be strong. If some difficulties are there, see them, address them, deal with them as constructively as you can, that they are not preventing you from unfolding in your inner spiritual experience. Sometimes the challenge may help, sometimes the physical difficulty may help to give us again more a push to go deeper into our own resources. As long as we are courageously facing it with strength, everything can be used to become more self-aware, to expand the experience. But if we slip in that poor little me role, there we are draining the energy away, and instead of expanding the experience, it's rather contracting. Just want to see quick the message that are there. Too much information, how to struggle for this condition, permanently worrying about SMTH. What is SMTH? Sorry, I'm not a doctor. What is SMTH? Something. I'm also not used to the modern type of writing. Right. Always worrying about something. Of course, there is an infinite amount of information there. There is the mainstream information, and then there is the alternative underground information. And if we are consulting the underground information, then we become more and more aware that the mainstream information is mostly lies. But if you consult the underground information, then you can get very worried about what's going on. And think, oh, it's terrible, what's going on. Just remember that you are whole, that there is an aspect in you that is not affected by no matter what is happening. This whole world is not as real as it appears. It's a dream-like magic story. And we project into that matrix, into that magic story to gain experience. And every experience, every confrontation, every situation that we meet, if we will meet it with an open heart, with the right attitude, with courage, it can help us to become more self-aware and become more expansive. And if we catch ourselves that because of information, because of what we heard, what happened again, or what may happen, that we start to worry, then just at that moment, turn the attention away from the information that brought about the worry and just watch what is really happening when I am worrying. And worry for a moment very consciously. Okay, I'm worrying very much. And then when you observe what is really happening, what you're doing to yourself energetically and physically, what kind of tensions you are creating, then you can start to relax that. Relax the physical tensions, relax the energetic tensions, and then the emotional tensions are also slowly going away. If we inform ourselves, and I know a lot of people who inform themselves with alternatives, with underground information, and they are very worried, and actually they are rather into a negative, getting into a negative line and think, okay, after all, I've lived my life, and if nothing else happens, I still can suicide. I commit suicide. It's a pity if we waste the opportunity like that. Every moment is a challenge. And if we hear information that has the tendency to get us very worried, then look at the situation and let the reactions come. Reactions of fear that maybe this is going to happen, maybe that is going to happen. But observe those reactions. And the better you observe, the better you become aware, but hey, there is that aspect in me that is totally not touched by any of this. It is totally unaffected. No matter what is happening outside, no matter what I'm imagining, brought about by information, what could happen, there is that aspect that is absolutely unaffected. Come back to that. Make that in your home. In that space, your home, whole. Your home, your whole, you're free of fear and worries. And then let that inner beauty and harmony as good as you can flow out. Then you help not only yourself, you stop poisoning your day-to-day, moment-to-moment experience with worrying all the time. But your life becomes more joyous, and at the same time, you help others. You radiate. You become like a beacon of light and help others also to more connect with their own inner light. We are in a difficult situation right now. I mean, it's totally crazy what is happening in the world, and one could get totally overwhelmed and worried about it. But it's also an opportunity in an intense situation like this. It's also an opportunity to become stronger, to become more self-aware. In an energetic intensity like it is now, it's like the atmosphere is, hey, it's all right. Oh, I think there is a monkey in the garden and the dogs are not happy about it. No. You're not making noise now behind me all the time. Hey, Leo, come. Anyhow, in an intense situation, as it is right now, it's easy to despair, but if we make use of it in a constructive way, then we have an opportunity in a very short time go very deep. So let's make use of that intensity of the situation, even if it seems to go in a total crazy direction what is happening in the world. The more people that do make use in that way of facing the challenge and diving deeper in their own resources with the intensity that is there, the more actually the lightful aspect is helped along, and eventually out of this mess something very beautiful, something very harmonious can emerge. Well, I can't do much about the commotion. Sorry for all this noise. But anyhow, I hope your question is answered. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome. Where is it? Marie writes. Wow. Yes. Marie writes, since we are already on the subject of body and diseases, euthanasia. So that's what you're describing, because I don't know the word, but I guess what you after that describing is what it is. That it means losing more and more control until finally you cannot even move or eat. Actually, I mean, what is your question, Marie? I cannot now say I have a cure for that, as you, I don't think, expect me to do. Now, this, of course, is a very difficult situation to face. And it depends then very much that person, how they can deal with it. If they are in an alert state of existence, that they can accept that no matter what is happening is a challenge to become more self-aware, to go deeper in one's own resources, then also even this difficult situation can be used like that. I don't know this disease. I think basically any disease can be healed if that intent is there, very strong. if that person connects with the divinity, then even the physical aspect of the disease may be healed, or if that disease is not healed, then the disease may help that person to spiritually go deeper and deeper, being pushed by the disease. I hope your friend has that capacity. Otherwise, it sounds like really a very difficult situation. There is another. Oh, it means to stop supporting the life. That means the life of a patient. That means I should go back to the word. Euthanasia. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that basically you help somebody to get out of this world. I mean, if somebody is in that situation, like getting less and less control, either they have that capacity to be able to accept, and in spite of the external difficulty, go because of the difficult situation, deeper and deeper. But if they think, no, enough is enough, they have also the right to decide, okay, then that's it. And then I don't have any moral hesitation to help them if it is their own decision to do so. But it's not something that should be done lightly, and right, unfortunately now it's being rather a bit promoted. I would say, as a rule of thumb, it's good to face the situation. We may also easily run away from difficulties, think if we commit suicide, then we just escape the situation. But who can be sure that we escape that confrontation, but we don't take that with us and bring it wherever we go, that we still have to face the confrontation. At the same time, if it's really a terminal disease and it's like, it's just, you see, have just a future of only pain and more pain, and one simply decides, okay, that is enough. I don't want to face that anymore. That's enough. Then I can respect such a decision, but it shouldn't be done lightly, and it's being taken and even promoted, pushed, that people should do that easily. I wouldn't do that lightly, but there can be dignity in refusing too much physical pain and suffering. It's good to remember, we are here to learn, to grow, to outgrow. This is a matrix. This is a magic show. We project into it, experience this three-dimensional reality, time and space, and it gives us endless opportunities to have confrontations, pleasant confrontations, unpleasant confrontations. And we can use them all to become more self-aware. Or we can totally get lost in the story, and then it's a painful business, and slowly we're still learning and growing, but in a very slow and very painful way. If we remember that's what we are here for, we can bring more and more a playful aspect in the whole story. And then, after all, it's usually not that bad to learn our lessons, to go through our daily life, if we can bring that playful mood into it. Stop taking ourselves as a person so serious, stop taking the circumstances so serious, then we can learn fast, we can grow fast, and in a quite joyous way. I wish you all well. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.